Nigeria's Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Lateef Fagbemi, says no state governor has the authority to suspend any local government chairman. His reaction follows the recent suspension by the Edo State Governor, Monday Okpebolo, of all 18 local government chairmen in the state. The Attorney General made his position known in Abuja while addressing a cross-section of judiciary correspondents at a media session to give a scorecard of the justice reforms in the past 12 months. The Edo State House of Assembly had suspended the chairman and vice chairman of all 18 local government areas for 2 months over allegations of misappropriation of funds and refusal to submit financial records to the state government. Governor Monday Okpebolo described their action as insubordination and gross misconduct.
You know, why I'm a bit reluctant in answering questions along this line is I always want to know the basis. At times, what you read on pages of newspapers may not necessarily be what informed the decision. But one thing that I know, and I can say without any fear, is that under the present dispensation, no governor has the right to remove any local government chairman. That much I know. If I didn't know, since July 11, 2024, I became aware of it, that removal of any local government chairman or official would be the prerogative of that local government through their legislative house. Thank you.
Well, Mr. Lateef Fagbemi there, the Attorney General of the Federation, clarifying some issues that have come up in terms of debate, conversation, analysis of what's happened in Edo State. Your take on this story, Rufai?
I mean, so, like he has said rightly there, in fact, there's this there's this letter that was written, to the Speaker of the Edo State House of Assembly that I have here from Ogaga Ovarawa, SAN and Co. that was saying that our clients on good authority, that the executive governor have written the Edo State requesting and demanding to pass a resolution to direct him as to dissolve democratically elected 18 lawmakers, 18 local government councils before the expiration of the lease. And in this letter, just to be able to paraphrase it, they were saying that subject to Section 7, subsection 1 and 4 of the Federal Constitution of 1999 as altered, they've also attached a certified true copy of the judgment of the Supreme Court, now celebrated decision AGF Federation versus AGF Abia, and 35 others. So, I mean, there's been conversations on. The PDP is totally irate as regards this in court. In fact, they have also even requested representation to come and speak on TV. Probably will be able to get them next week as regards this order, that this local, that Okpebolo had, petitioned of some sort the State House of Assembly, saying that they should go ahead and suspend, and the Speaker of the State House didn't ratify it. It has constantly been a norm, but the government and our laws now frowns against it after that 11th of July judgment. And that was also a benchmark. But it's not just for Lateef Fagbemi to also just say, oh, it will not happen and everything. I think we should also bolster the law by those that are not going to take the case on. The federal government should be able to give them some level of fillip on this. Because, you see, we cannot have a democracy where you are supposed to have 3 tiers of government: the local, the state, and the federal. But the local government is subsumed by the state government. Where do you have the autonomy? Where do you have the autonomy? Already, as regards even local government autonomy, and the money is being, followed to the local government for their development, we are already having all sorts of agreements by the governors and these local government chairmen, saying that we put them there. And that's why some other people have also even campaigned vigorously that the State Resident Electoral Commission should not conduct the local government election. I think INEC should be able to do it because of some level of sanity. The first local government election since we returned to democracy that was conducted, I think, in December 1998, was conducted by INEC, the national body. That's why we had some level of sanity. Today, the chairman just appoints all sorts of people. I mean, we've sat down here and laughed at the shambolic nature of these local government council polls. One, people don't even know about it, they don't come out for them. The ruling party sweeps most of the states and all of that. Yeah. So I think it is because of all of this, the governor feel they can, rub raw shoulder. But as regards this, there's also a political undertone to it. You don't forget that most of these local government chairmen came in, through the last administration. And definitely, they will be at loggerheads with Okpebolo. Yeah. So it's that political dimension of the PDP, sort of like fighting the APC that is incumbent in this. But this should not trample on the autonomy of the local government. So there are many cases on ground, many letters being written that I've been getting as feelers from Edo State. And we must look at this. Lateef Fagbemi has made the right call, but we must go further by saying this must not happen. And court precedent must be instituted as regards this.
All right, thanks. Dr.
Okay,
Patrick.
Section 7 of the 1999 Constitution creates local councils and says that, they will be democratically elected governments. And it's on the basis of this that the courts have ruled that state governors have no powers to be appointing caretaker committees or caretaker chairmen into local councils. But matters came to a head on 11 July in the matter instituted by the federal government of Nigeria, that's the Attorney General of the Federation, to push for fiscal federalism, the fiscal autonomy of the various states, of the various local governments in Nigeria. And a panel of 7, led by Justice Emmanuel Agim, ruled in favor of AG Federation in the case AG Federation versus AG Abia State and others, to the effect that the local councils will have control over their own funds and they will receive their allocations directly from the federal government. Two issues that came up at that time was with regard to Section 162, Sub 6 and Sub 7 of the 1999 Constitution, which creates state joint local government accounts. And the governors are saying, well, for as long as that Section 162, Sub 6 and 7 exists, in terms of how you allocate federal funds, then the states still have powers over the local councils. But the interpretation, the import of the Supreme Court ruling is that no, you cannot withhold their funds. And in this particular case, you see that that's the mindset from where Governor Okwewolo is coming from. He's asking the local government chairman in the state to come and render financial accounts to him. And they refused to do so, probably haven't been advised appropriately by their lawyers. And he said, oh, that's an act of insubordination, and therefore they should be suspended. He is wrong. The second thing is that the import of that July 11 judgment is that, look, this local government chairman, they cannot be removed on the orders of the governor or the State House of Assembly. They have their own legislative assembly. So it's only their legislative assembly that can play that oversight role. Now, the governors again insist that after all, they are the ones in control of SIEC. Now, the State Independent Electoral Commission, created under Section 197 of the 1999 Constitution, says that the governor shall appoint the chairman of SIEC and also the members. And that's why people have been saying we should take a second look, not just at that section, 197, but also Section 162 to free, the local councils completely from the control of the governors. In any case, the political issue here is that many of those local council chairmen, they are more or less sponsored by the governor or the party of the governor, and there's always that conflict. But the law, should be allowed to prevail. So, Attorney General of the Federation, Lateef Fagbemi SCA, is therefore very right. Because if you look at the first schedule of the Constitution, deals with the functions of the local government. Many of those functions that are there, they have been usurped. The powers of the local councils have been usurped by the state government. So the main issue is to allow that tier of government, that is the closest level to the people, to function, because it's the level of government where you can have grassroots development more concretely. Although another caveat here is that people refer to Section 2 of the Constitution. Section 2 of the Constitution recognizes just the federal government and the states. So there are many gray areas in the Constitution, that will still have to be reviewed to give full effect to the objectives of fiscal federalism and of the empowerment of the local councils. Mr. Okwewolo should seek the advice of his Attorney General, or he should be properly advised in the light of the protestations that have attended his ambition to turn local government chairmen in Edo State into his students that he can dictate to as he wishes.
It does sound like a student-teacher relationship, suspending for insubordination and gross misconduct and not following due process. At best, the governor of Edo State, perhaps not very well advised, has overreached or gone beyond the boundaries of his statutory functions in terms of the oversight of the local government. We've talked about this a number of times, how there must be a separation of powers between the state and local government. Of course, since the ruling in July, where the financial autonomy of local governments in Nigeria was guaranteed by the Supreme Court, it has been quite difficult for state governments to divorce the power and authority or oversight that they had over local governments. And we've seen that even in many states, this hasn't been enforced yet. I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago that we talked about the fact that the last allocation was still paid to the state government's account. So you can still see that process of implementation dragging a little because, of course, the state governments it appears, would not want to let go of the control that they've exerted over the local governments thus far. Now, just to talk about the dynamics of the local governments in Nigeria, and unfortunately, a lot of people are not aware of this because for a very long time, they've been quite dormant or this hasn't just been respected at all. As stated out and provided in the Constitution, the local government, which is the closest government to the people and responsible for a number of key activities that happen in communities, levies, permissions, permits, street planning, town planning, advising the commission on state commission on town planning, haven't stepped fully into their function, and sometimes there's a blurred line between the state and the local government. They operate a kind of presidential system whereby they have the executive and the legislature. The executive is the chairman of the local government, while the legislature is made up of elected councillors who come together to have oversight function of the LGA, and of course also able to hold the chairman to account. Now, what has been said is that the action of going to the State House of Assembly to seek that order to suspend the local government is not right because the local governments have their own system of governance in their local area. So if any decision like that would be made, the councillors ought to be the ones holding that position. Again, it's just that conversation around the blurred lines and the fact that a number of people don't even understand the role, the functions of the local government. For a very long time, they've just been appointed, ceremonial, at the beck and call or at the whims and caprices of the sitting governor. But things have to change. If we're going to have an effective and strong federalism and democracy, we must ensure that we empower perhaps if not the most important and the most critical to the people arm of government, which is the local government. I'm hoping that the governor of Edo State would take on the advice or perhaps the statement of the Attorney General of the Federation and rethink his stance on this matter. Not to be adamant about his position, but to actually follow what is right and what is due process. If we have issues with the local government, it's not him that should be checking the books of the local government chairman. That has to stop. And I'm hoping that what would make it really effective, this whole hold of the state government over the local government, is to enforce that autonomy, financial autonomy for the local government. Let the people themselves decide who they want to be their chairman, because that's the person that they can easily have access to, unlike the state government or even very far away, the federal government. So these are very critical things, and I'm glad that the Attorney General of the Federation spoke about this, even though he said he was reluctant to, because he had to find out the details of what happened or what transpired, so he's not just feeding off information that's been reported. And I mean, I can quite understand that, but he was still able to say categorically. And what he had mentioned, and I'll just read that part because I'm hoping that he'll uphold that together we will foster a justice sector that inspires confidence and delivers on its mandate to serve the people. So help you God. We are hoping that this will be what will happen under this administration. Well, let's move on to our next story this morning. Polo Limited has hosted an event to honor Montblanc's Great Character Collection in Lagos. The forum also welcomed Johan Dahan, the company's managing director, Europe, Middle East and Africa, who is on his first visit to Nigeria. Correspondent Niyi Oyelowo has more.
A night of glitz and glamour set the mood for celebration at a well-attended event. Officials of Polo Limited say the forum is celebrating Montblanc's Great Character Collection, which was inspired by Scott Fitzgerald's timeless novel, The Great Gatsby. This will be Johan de Haan, the company's managing director, Europe, Middle East and Africa's first visit to Nigeria, and welcomed by Polo Limited.
Incredible is the spirit of Christmas, and we have our guests, especially our guests from Montblanc. This is the reason we are here tonight.
Polo Limited is the exclusive strategic partner to Montblanc, which specializes in craftsmanship of items such as writing tools, watches, leather goods, new technologies, and accessories. The event attracted dignitaries, including captains of industry, art collectors, fashion enthusiasts, and Nigeria's luxury icons. Montblanc is synonymous with excellence in craftsmanship and design. The company has been extending innovation ever since the Maison first revolutionized the culture of writing in 1906.
Far greater cooperation, far greater prosperity for both parties, and a celebration of excellence that both our brands have always been known for.
Guests were given a glimpse of the 1920s feel at the event with the Gatsby Glamour theme. This collection is said to symbolize a shared perspective on art, culture, and craftsmanship, with Polo Limited and Montblanc's collaboration in providing the best for Nigeria's luxury enthusiasts. Ni Weilo, Arise News.
All right, congratulations, and of course we continue to bring updates with regards to groundbreaking events, sometimes even historical, here on the morning show. Congratulations to the Polo Group.